You've read the same paragraph 3 times, and it still isn't sticking. And somewhere across town, someone just learned the same thing in 10 minutes. Same material, same time. What do they have that you don't? Most people assume the answer is intelligence. They're wrong.
Fast learners don't have better brains. They have a different relationship with confusion. And that relationship is something you can actually change. By the end of this video, you'll know the exact psychological mechanism that separates them and how to use it.
Let's start with something most people get completely backwards about how the brain learns. Most of us learn to study by rereading, go over it again, make it familiar. Familiarity feels like learning, but familiarity and actually knowing something are two completely different things. The expert calls this the fluency illusion. The material feels smooth when you reread it because your brain is pattern matching, not learning. You feel like you understand it, right up until someone asks you to explain it. Fast learners, it turns out, do something that feels deeply uncomfortable. They deliberately make the material harder to process. They don't smooth the path, they roughen it on purpose. Psychologists call these desirable difficulties, and the research behind them changed everything we thought we knew about studying.
Here's what nobody tells you. Fast learners make more mistakes early, not fewer. Theo's skeptical. If they're making more errors, how are they learning faster? That makes no sense. The expert explains, the brain doesn't strengthen memories by reviewing them. It strengthens them by retrieving them, especially when that retrieval is hard. Every failed attempt, every wrong answer, it forces the brain to work harder to find the right path, and that effort is what makes the memory stick. Kornell and Bjork found that students who were forced to guess before being given the answer remembered more, even when they guessed wrong. The mistake wasn't the problem. The mistake was the lesson.
Okay, but surely reading the material multiple times still helps, right? Roediger and Karpicki ran the study in 2006. Two groups. One reread a passage 4 times. The other read it once, then tested themselves 3 times. 1 week later, the rereaders had forgotten most of it. The self-testers retained almost everything. Same time investment, completely different outcome. Not because one group was smarter, because one group made the retrieval harder for themselves. Fast learners aren't rereading, they're constantly testing themselves, closing the book, trying to recall, writing it from memory. That discomfort, that's the learning happening.
Wait, this is exactly what happens in the gym. Nobody gets stronger by lifting weights they can already lift easily. The muscle grows in response to resistance, to the point where it almost fails. Learning works identically. The difficulty isn't a sign you're doing it wrong. The difficulty is the mechanism itself.
There's one more habit of fast learners that looks like chaos from the outside. Most students study one topic until they feel confident, then move to the next. Block practice. Feels logical, feels efficient. Fast learners do the opposite. They jump between topics. Maths, then history, then maths again. It's called interleaving, and it feels wrong. Rohrer and Taylor showed that interleaved practice produced far better retention, even though the students felt like they were learning less while doing it. Because interleaving forces the brain to keep re-identifying which strategy or concept applies, and that act of discrimination is itself a form of deep processing. Fast learners aren't better at focusing, they're better at not staying comfortable. Here's what all 3 of these insights have in common, and why they point to something deeper than any study technique. Every single habit of a fast learner involves tolerating and even seeking the feeling of not knowing. That discomfort isn't a warning signal, it's the signal that learning is actually happening. Carol Dweck spent decades studying this. People who believe intelligence is fixed avoid challenges to protect their self-image. People who believe it's growable run toward the hard thing. But it goes even deeper than mindset. Metacognition, the ability to accurately monitor what you actually understand versus what merely feels familiar, that's what fast learners have trained. Not IQ, self-awareness about their own knowing. Vineman's research found metacognition predicts academic performance more reliably than intelligence scores in some domains. You don't need to be smarter, you need to be more honest with yourself about what you don't yet know. The paragraph you've reread 4 times, you already know what you need to do. Close the book, try to recall it, feel the discomfort. That's not failure, that's the lesson beginning.
The strange thing about fast learners is that they often don't feel like fast learners while it's happening. They feel confused. They feel like they're struggling. They feel the same friction you feel. They've just learned to read that friction differently. Not as a sign something is wrong, but as a signal that something is working. But here's the thing. Even the fastest learners hit a wall eventually. And when they do, it's not confusion that stops them. It's something more insidious. Why do genuinely intelligent people who learn fast, eventually stop learning altogether? That's what we're getting into next.